Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 102 of the Backlot 605 podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman.
I'm Brian Mensing.
And Brian, we are continuing Clive Barker's our Clive Barker series here for the month of October. We're hopping aboard the Midnight Meat Train as we are joined by...
Do it.
There he is. He is the conductor for this episode. Mr. Andy Grode from Skinny Idiot Studios. Andy, welcome to the show. Thank you for your maybe the best introduction we've ever had on the show.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here. I do have to correct you. I'm sorry to do so. It's actually Grody. Like, ew.
Like, ew, he's Grody?
So, it is actually Grody. So it adds, like, not only, like, a hint of punk, but also, like, some, because, again, we're talking about meat on a train.
You know,
this is incredibly hard to play.
I will say this: you called him the conductor since he's got the whistle.
Yeah,
I think you're the conductor. He's like the little kid in the back of the train you give the whistle to, just so he'll stop pissing off all the other people on the train.
He's the little kid, that goes into the cockpit in the movie Airplane.
Oh, man, you said cockpit. Sorry.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
To many things I'll probably say because I
never call me Shirley.
Sure, but I'm minding that F word.
Yes, we get one, and we like to have we like to let the guests have the one F-bomb. Like that's our courtesy to them. You guys get the one.
I'm saving it.
It didn't start out that way. It just kind of happened, and so we've kind of rolled with it.
We're trying to keep a show about talking about Midnight Meat Train family friendly. Okay.
Yeah. Come on, what's your problem?
You know, you say that after we just got done recording for the Patreon, and the words that were used there, and you're worried about a midnight meat train.
Oh man! Oh, well, were we really filming earlier?
No. Before you came on, me and Brian did our Patreon episode
nice.
On Rawhead Rex.
Oh god. Gross.
Grody, right?
I had to experience that for the first time yesterday.
Shirts. Sorry.
Well, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on because God damn it, we need a horror fan and someone with the last name Grody needs to be on Midnight Meat Train.
That is a very good, valid point.
All right. Well, let's jump into first of all, before we get into Midnight Meat Train in the second half of the show, let's jump into the box office results for this past weekend. We have a new king of the box office. That is Liam Neeson, An Honest Thief.
So, like Taken 47, right?
Taken 47, The Gray Without Wolves, Honest Thief, $3.7 million.
Look at Liam Neeson go, hey, you know what? That Christopher Nolan guy, I got this.
At this point now, he's like, I have no idea who I may even in a movie right now, what's happening. But I will find myself in a movie later with a snowplow. Or I don't know. What has he done lately? Like, I'm sorry.
All I know is you making reference to Cold Pursuit says there's a gentleman that Casey and I need to invite or have you meet.
Cold Pursuit, right? Yeah. He was like, you bastards, you stole my wife and it's snowing out. Also,
it's time to get plowed. As Andy's about to take a sip of beer, he's going to get plowed. Really?
I have no idea who I am.
Oh, I have to ask. As
looking for her also.
As for someone who has not watched Cold Pursuit, does he at least say that line? Please tell me he says that line.
Time to get plowed?
Or something to that effect.
Does he? Oh God, it's been a while. And it's one of those like, let's just do it, like, because it's late and I need something to do. I'm sorry, like. I don't remember. Probably.
All I know is that
a total missed opportunity.
That's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if that's not in there in some shape or form, I want to fire the writer.
Well, so many people probably should have been fired like before. Like, okay, there's a snowplow. Like, I love it.
Have you seen that movie Taken? But what if there was a snowplow in it somewhere? Yes.
We've got a few more Taken movies to suss out. Then we'll throw in the snowplow. How about the wolves?
Well, yeah, don't forget about that one on the airplane.
Oh my god, yeah, because what was it like? He was like
He did one on a train
Was
too,
that a
didn't he?
plane or
Yeah,
a train?
well, he's got
He's
the
done it
commuter.
all.
Jesus.
He's got nonstop when he's on the. Isn't nonstop the one on the airplane?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because commuter's on the train. He's got the snow plow or whatever he's got for cold pursuit. Like it's just again, it's literally just taking.
Like
It's
Liam Neeson, if you're watching this, like they should totally do a parody one where he's on a Segway. He's like, I don't even know how to operate this.
Mall Cop 3.
Now you just ruined it.
Paul Blart
Sorry,
3.
I'm
Paul
not a
Blart 3
Blart
with
fan.
Liam Neeson as his dad.
All right. So, honest Steve, I don't think any of us gave a shit about this movie, obviously.
Obviously, somebody did because it came in
did.
#1.
Yeah.
Bunch of
But,
morons.
Which tells me this would have been this would have actually had a lot of people in the theater if this was not a pandemic right now. Like this would have actually had a solid, I think.
I hard disagree. There's no other movies to go watch. So they're like, well, let's go watch the new Taken that's not called Taken.
But there are how many middle-aged on to retirement old men like Januszka that would go see this in the theater.
That's true. Well, and speaking of that older audience, number 2 is The War with Grandpa with Robert De Niro.
Oh no!
The senior citizens are coming out in droves to the theater finally.
2 of the oldest guys in Hollywood right now are taking over the box office.
I call this one. It's such a cash. It's a cash grab. I mean, what are you gonna do? Sucks that they got Walken like more so. You know what I mean? They had him at Joe Dirt. Like, look at him do that. Like, that's kind of. But now it's like full on. Like, you know what? I'm gonna make this movie. Sorry, that was my Walken.
That was a pretty good Walken.
I'm gonna do it.
I will say this, and I made reference to this here, Andy, last week, for the sake of The War with Grandpa, and I'll even extend this to Christopher Walken as well as you, is that these are two gentlemen that are so seasoned in their careers to the point where they can do whatever they want because they are who they want, and it's not like it's not like they need the paycheck. They're just doing it to have fun. They're pretty much at that part of their career where they're just like, you know what, we have the serious stuff that we're gonna do. Outside of that, I don't care. If you want to put me in it and I've got the time, give me the paycheck.
Didn't actually De Niro, like, he showed up in the news, if I'm not mistaken, like within the last couple of years, saying like things have been tough, like because of obviously it's been tough for everybody, but I mean, didn't he like say something like he had to cut costs or fire people or something to that effect? Or I mean, or am I being completely off base with him in particular?
I mean,
like him in particular. I don't know.
I don't know myself, but I mean, even at that point, you figure he's still probably even just living off of the residuals of the money that he's making off probably his stocks alone. Right. He's still probably doing better than the 3 of us combined.
He gets like monthly checks from like Meet the Fockers DVDs. Oh, that's not the F word yet.
Nope. But he probably gets monthly checks from Raging Bull and Taxi Driver.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So I mean, he's probably not hurting.
It's just, I mean, yeah. I'm probably gonna end up watching it because I have kids, and that's just what happens. But I don't know. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. Bottom line. Sorry, Christopher Walken and who else is in it besides who are all the old men like in the movie?
Isn't Cheech Marin in it?
Cheech Marin is in it, I think so.
I think he's the other one. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in it. Let's move on.
They're gonna be some
like number 3 is Tenet, $1.6 million. Christopher Nolan, you should have made The War with Grandpa instead. Like, but yeah, this movie, like, Tenet's still sticking around. It's going to be in the box office in theaters until like January, February. So it'll stick around for a while here.
Oh yeah, you got to give Denzel Jr. credit for what he's doing.
have not ventured out, so I have not seen it, but I want to see it. But also, it's a Christopher Nolan movie, so I'm gonna have to watch it several times and have way
Yes.
smarter people explain it to me, like rub my back and like, see what happened there was a plot point. I'll be like, yeah, like Interstellar and just whoa, stuff like that.
Well, I will tell you the first thing I did when I left the theater was I was like, wow, he's ambitious this time.
Okay, so that's a fancy way of saying like what
I've
happened.
I've seen it twice, and I still have to go back to watch it to make sure that I picked up on the little things.
It's gonna be like whiteboards and diagrams and such. And like,
It's like
get over here! I don't know.
it's like Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny trying to figure out who Pepe Sylvia is.
Cigarettes. Yes. Good.
All right, number 4 then at the box office, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Disney's throwing a bunch of their Halloween releases here in the month of October. $1.3 million, pretty good for this movie. I was expecting when Hocus Pocus was making some big bucks at the box office that when Nightmare Before Christmas was released, that Hot Topic crowd would be heading toward the theater with their Hot Topic masks on. And they did. They definitely did.
It's funny as Andy's over here giggling and laughing at you because of your comment to realize that you're part of said crowd.
I'm
wearing Jack Skellington pants right now, so I should not talk.
Literally, like I've got a black tie on, so there's that. But no, that's awesome though. Like my mom took me to that in theaters originally back in 1992, so like that dates me a little bit. Like we'll just throw that out there. So, and I ended up taking my daughter to that when they re-released it back in, it had to have been like at least, I don't know, like 2012, something to that effect, or I don't know. And then they're doing it. It's cool. It's awesome that it's these films that are making such a resurgence. You know what I'm saying? Like let the children see it, you know, and like others. Yeah, it's good.
So
I don't really like Hocus Pocus. So
this does leave me a question to you though.
Okay.
Once things kind of get back into the quote unquote norm, would you like to see the studios continue to let these theaters show, you know, like say for instance like West Mall and like this Century and stuff like that, showing these old classic films and bringing them back on a regular basis to be able to have that opportunity to see them on the big screen? Or do you think that once we're kind of back in the norm, just let them be home video? Because for like me, I've had a half a dozen movies I've never seen on the big screen, and because of this, I finally had that opportunity.
Nice. No, yeah, I definitely hope they should like be around and continue to do so. I saw, or my daughter saw Back to the Future for the first time this summer on 4th of July. There was like 4 people in the theater, including us, and we were miles apart, masked, whatever. But
yeah,
like, that's how the first time she saw it, and it was so cool. And she just got so much into it, and so much more so because it was experienced on the big screen,
right?
know? And you have the drive-in theaters that have just been killing it and bringing it like all summer long, that have been like all in the area. You know, I mean, like I think the one in Redfield had Nightmare on Elm Street, like right towards the end. Like, how awesome would that have been? You know, like stuff like that. You know, I hope they continue to do that in that format. Like, you know, well beyond when we all go back to whatever normal looks like. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I went to go see Back to the Future, you know, in the at the West Mall, paid my $350. I've owned it. How many different iterations of that movie? It's one of my favorite movies. But I was 7 when it came out. I never saw that on the big screen. I never even saw when they had the anniversary releases for like Fathom and stuff like that. I'd be like, you know what? I'm finally going to take that opportunity. So I never saw RoboCop. You know, some of all these movies, I'm like, I'm with you. I'm hoping that they'll find that nice happy medium of going, okay, every week we'll have like a little retro or a little, you know, whatnot. And you know, if it doesn't fill the seats, it doesn't fill the seats. How many of these movies don't fill the seats anyway?
I mean, like, I'm one of those type of guys that I kind of always hated going to theaters opening night anyway because of the amount of people. Not because like I hate crowds or anything, but you'd always get the 1 or 2 people that weren't really invested in whatever, so they just be like talking or like the distractions, all that crap. So I like the in-home type vibe, but there's something to be said about going to an old school theater and seeing an old movie, or something like that.
Yeah, I went to a Nightmare on Elm Street a few weekends ago, and I think I might have been the oldest person in there, and it was a lot of high schoolers, and I'm only 26 years old, so it was a lot of high schoolers in there, probably watching Elm Street for the first time ever, and watching it on the big screen and having no idea what to expect. Yeah, I think this is definitely something they should look at doing
Going forward.
Yeah, when we're sort of back to normal, as normal as we can be. Like, just reserve one theater for like every week, change it up and do a retro movie. I think that would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Why stop there? Do a double feature, like,
exactly.
Just keep going, do a midnight thing, because all these people, everybody wants to get out anyway, so make it worth their while. Like, whoever's listening to this, make it happen.
Yeah,
I don't know how the internet works.
They're listening. Like earlier in the pandemic, like we watched Dracula and Frankenstein, and it was billed as a double feature. Like, you buy one ticket, you get both. I'm like, yeah, let's do that more often. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Number 5 then here at the box office is another Disney Halloween classic, Hocus Pocus, 756,000. Andy does not feel the I think people named Andy do not like Hocus Pocus, because Andy the fat dude does not like this movie either. But yeah, there's a crowd for this movie.
There's always been a crowd for this movie.
I'm just, I feel, and a lot of people can say this about like Nightmare Before Christmas, but there's a lot of hype behind it, and like, like, all right, I get it, Plus, I'm not a huge Bette Midler fan either. Like, do what you need to, but like, I've just never been I get it, but the running joke in my family though is I have written, produced, and starred in every role in a sequel to it called Rackus Frackus that has been wildly unpopular. It's like a running dad joke, and they used to hate it, but now they love it. Like, tell us about Rackus Frackus. I'm like, well, no. Sorry to segue so bad. Segue starring Liam Neeson. No,
Hocus Pocus 3, starring Liam Neeson's Taken 49.
I don't know which one of my great-grandchildren lit the virgin candle or what the hell's happening, but I have to do stuff. Where's my snowplow?
It's Liam Neeson on a broom.
He's a witch. He's a witch.
Liam
Neeson. I'm a witch, but I'm also a man. Oh,
they're
gonna do it. There's like people writing this crap down. Like,
get your stuff right.
This is great.
He would be a warlock. He'd be a warlock.
Listen here, Hollywood. We need Liam Neeson on a broom flying in the air.
Is he gonna do like Fast and Furious style and like trying to hit other people in other brooms?
Where's my black cat?
Oh man, there's gonna be so many POV shots. Like, let me
all right. Should we move on to the news there, Casey?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? The show's off the rails. Let's do it.
Hey, you know what this tells me? We need him on more often. just for the visual side of watching him going off the rails.
Oh, I talk with my hands a lot. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with talking with your hands. I do it all the time.
It's like the commuter. He's going off the rails.
It's like jazz hands. All right. So the first thing we've got going on in regards to the news, which is not a whole lot going on with it here, is that they're making progress on the George Miller follow-up to Fury Road. George Miller is going to be directing and co-writing Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa. She's going to take Furiosa. Yeah, she's going to take on the Charlize Theron role from Fury Road, and we also have Chris Hemsworth on board and Yahan Abdul Mateen II, aka Black Manta from Aquaman and various other things, and that Candyman movie, to also star in the movie.
Say it more times.
Right.
Man, I watched the other one the other night. Okay, sorry to disrupt.
No, you're fine.
No more Candymans.
You got 3 more shots.
We still.
That's all right.
Three more.
I had to watch it here a couple weeks ago, so trust me. If you listen to the episode where we talk about the infamous Candyman, you'll realize exactly how I felt about that. It was not good. So what do you think of George and his prequel for Fury Road?
Which Hemsworth is okay?
Thor.
It is actually Thor. Sorry, like I got
The talented Hemsworth.
There's so many Hemsworths running around these days. You know,
There's the high, the middle, and the low. This is the high one.
Okay, I just watched Arkansas the other day, so I had to switch Hemsworths.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the
good.
middle. That's the middle Hemsworth.
It's
So
the Hemsworth
that
Miley
was the middle
Cyrus
one.
isn't writing songs about right now.
Noted. All right.
Noted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be like Furiosa's dad?
This is all we know at this point right
Yeah.
now is that Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be is Furiosa, so she's taking over the Charlize Theron role. Other two are not confirmed as to who they're playing yet.
I have a pitch for Mr. Hemsworth and who he should play. I think he should play the Doof Warrior. The guy with the guitar that is the flamethrower at the end of it. Like, that should be Hemsworth, right?
That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, actually.
I will
don't
say
know what
this.
I'm doing. I might be playing a guitar on top of like a post-apocalyptic tank. There's
Is
also a snowplow back there, but I will find you.
because I don't know off the top of my head, where's George Miller from?
I think he's an Aussie.
Is
he-
he an Aussie?
I
I'm
think
not
so.
I'm curious, but it's just because like you see Chris Hemsworth and you're like, well, he's the hottest, Aussie on the planet right now. So of course we got to throw him into the film,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So that's why I was kind of curious. Like, it's the kind of thing that like if they were to redo Fury Road, it's like, why didn't they just pick with Chris Hemsworth was too busy with the Avengers, so that's why Tom Hardy got the role.
You bring up a great point with this, though, because we're recasting Furiosa, and I mean, we've already recast Mad Max now.
Mm-hmm.
What if George Miller's like, I don't care who's playing Mad Max or Furiosa, I just want to tell another story in that universe. What if Hemsworth is just playing Mad Max in this movie?
Oh.
I mean, I suppose that's possible because out of all of the actors to play or potentially play Mad Max, Tom Hardy's the only one that's not Australian.
What if they did it old? Like, what if they did like a Mel Gibson, like at least a cameo, like an old man Max, like like he like shows up, like I don't know. Where did we last leave him? Did he get like, oh, you're all dead, mate? And then like with the plane and crap. I can't remember like the last.
He should just show up as Mad Mel.
Mad Mel. He make sure he keeps
he
the
just
beard.
rolls up in a
He's playing
car.
himself.
It's like, hey.
He needs the
Beer
Santa
out
Claus
here.
beard.
Is this where I park? I don't know. Liam Neeson was supposed to meet me here for lunch.
Yeah, I like this news though. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a really great actress, and
I think she's got a lot going for her, and I think she's got a lot to come still.
Yeah, and I think if you're doing like the prequel route and you need to recast Charlize, yeah, go with Anya Taylor-Joy. That works for me. I want anything with George Miller in the Mad Max world right now. Like, I'll take anything he wants to do. He is an older gentleman, so he does not have many years left with us. So if he can give us at least this and maybe a Mad Max sequel to Fury Road, then yeah, please give us all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her in Split. Like, just amazing. Correct? Yeah, and Glass.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And I would say that she is one of the better parts of New Mutants.
Oh,
Just
right.
throwing that out there.
Is it God, I have so many questions. I'm only like a couple hours away, but like because of everything going on, I'm like, what's happening in film? Tell me, because like the internet, like
Then you need to make sure you're listening to our podcast.
I gotta do that.
He's like, what's going on in film? We talk about it every week.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. He's our number one listener, Mr. Andy Grody.
Wow, if we didn't just
Mr.
out him at all.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we're all for this, and we all want some more Mad Max and more Furiosa. Like it's
If we keep to the same caliber that what was Fury Road, I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, that was rad.
Yeah. All
what's
right.
up next?
On to the next thing. On to the next is one of the other now movies that was supposed to be hitting theaters is now going to be going to streaming, and that would be, there we go, is Coming to America, aka the sequel to Coming to America. See the two is going to be going to Amazon and being sold to them for the prime number of $125 million, slated to start streaming on the 18th of December. And I could not find an image for the sake of the new film because there's like nothing out there. So all we get is that.
Sorry.
And the fact that I know there's probably quite a few people that are like, I can give two flying craps that there's going to be a sequel to Coming to America. I really enjoyed the original. I love Arsenio Hall in the original. I love all the characters that they created in the original.
Yeah.
And I'm straight up looking forward to this. And plus with the other people that they've cast in this film to accompany this will definitely have me watching it in December.
And like so close to Christmas, and with the nostalgia from the first film, like there's no way there's not going to be that. I mean, there's going to be billions of people watching this. Yeah, like Randy Watson, sexual chocolate. You know, like
exactly. Yeah,
love it.
And it sounds like they even moved it up a week because I think it was originally supposed to be Christmas Day, and I think they actually moved it up a week. And I don't know what the reason for that was, but hey, a week sooner, I'll take it.
Yeah. Who else is supposed to be in it? Like I know nothing about the cast.
The only one I know off of the top of my head is SNL veteran Leslie Jones.
Nice.
Come on, stupid thing's being a little slow for
me. Oh, you
me
pull
here.
that up. I've actually never seen Coming to America. I've not ever seen the original film, so yeah, I'll be catching up on that before watching this one. The question I have: $125 million. I know Amazon has that money, but damn, that seems like a big price tag for Coming to America. Like it's a comedy sequel. Do we need to throw that much at it? But again, if you're hitting that December market during Christmas, Disney's putting out their stuff. Amazon, you have to have something to counterbalance what Disney's trying to do in December. Why not try to put Eddie out there?
Well, and I don't wonder if this is Amazon playing nice with Paramount or something to that effect to try to get some of that Eddie money since he is going with Netflix with the Beverly Hills Cop stuff. So, maybe there is a little bit of that. As for people that you might recognize that is going to be in the sequel to this here, just so I can make sure I did pull up the right one here. Okay. Is that, there we go, where the John Amos is coming to reprise his role from the first one. But we also will have Tracy Morgan, Wesley Snipes, James Earl Jones, Louis Anderson, and I see Rick Ross as himself. But I mean, the fact that we got like Tracy Morgan, Wesley Snipes, and James Earl Jones, I think is a fantastic addition to that.
Right. I love that they have Louis Anderson. Like, I hope he's like still working at McDowell's. Like,
that's also I said Louis Anderson, not even thinking about him. Like, I like Louis Anderson. Oh, I completely forgot he was in the fast food place. Now I feel bad, but at the same time too, now I even want to look at it. I want to watch this even more now.
I mean, like the nostalgia draw alone is probably worth. I mean, I don't know if it's worth, like you said, like the 123 million, but a lot of us old people, Casey, enjoy it. So let us eat our prunes and remember how it used to be.
This was the good funny stuff back in when this came out, especially with the Jerry Curl joke alone is worth the price of admission.
Let your soul glow. Yeah.
Soul glow. They all get off the couch and there's just 3 great big spots on the couch.
Yeah. That was so good. Yeah.
So I apologize. So you were saying, Casey, when I was pulling that up here, you have never seen the original.
No, I have not.
He's going to watch the original and go, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why did Amazon pay $125 million for a sequel?
Oh no, I won't do that. I love Eddie Murphy. I've seen most of his '80s stuff, and this is one I have not watched. I don't know why.
How did this one miss the boat?
Right.
This and Trading Places are like the two like just I've missed the boat on in '80s Eddie.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
it was on like cable TV alone, like every weekend, like on
Right?
rotation. If it wasn't on one channel, it was like on another, and you're like, oh, I'll finish it later.
You've got Brewster's Millions in there at least, right? Oh, wait,
What's
sorry.
that?
Wrong guy. Never mind. Don't listen to me.
I don't know what.
Never
I
mind.
had,
Don't
like,
listen to me.
a second.
Don't listen to
Wrong
me.
one. But yeah, let's move on to coming soon. Since segues, we don't have them. We don't need them.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson does.
Liam Neeson just
Looking
needs
for
another
you.
Taken movie.
All right. Speaking of comedy sequels that are coming out, first up, we do have the sequel to Borat is coming out. The subsequent movie film that's coming on Amazon Prime October 23rd. So hitting right before the election. We talked about the trailer a few weeks ago. Me and Brian did, and Andy, I'll throw it off to you. Me and Brian. Brian, have you watched it yet? First,
No.
I guess.
I have to wait until at least November 1st.
Okay.
So I won't be able to watch the original and or the sequel until at least because I'm sticking to Halloween October for my movies.
Yeah, but Andy, what do you think of this sequel? Are you a fan of Borat?
Very nice.
Is it very nice?
Sorry. Yeah, I rewatched it the other, like when it came out. It was just, I mean, who wasn't talking about? I mean, you were probably like 3.
And all my classmates were still talking about it.
Yeah, like in 4th grade. Oh my, yeah, sorry, dude. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to see. Very excited. Stop now. It's just not gonna stop.
Yeah.
I saw Bruno, and I was like one of the only, like, there's like a couple people in the theater when that first came out. But so like I'm super excited for it. Yeah. Sorry.
We've actually, so I recently watched it for the first time like a few weeks ago, and we've watched it again because my fiance Kayla just loves it that much. So we watched it again a few days ago. It's so funny, and like I've been quoting "King of the Castle, King of the Castle, King of the Castle" like all the time. Yeah, I'm super excited for this.
Like, how could these people? Because obviously, I don't know how the internet works. I don't know how film works. I have no idea why I'm here. But like, these people obviously have to like sign off on this stuff when they're done, right? So like, how could you sign off on being like that blatantly, like, you know, like I'll say the word like obtuse, because anything else in this climate, I don't want to like get my, you know what I'm saying? Like all these people like, why'd you shave that mustache? You look like a dad. You know, like all the, like those people, like, yeah, that's fine. Put me on, like, you suck. Like, you know, like all those. I don't know. That's probably another conversation for another time.
I think
we need to have them on the show more.
I think that they get away with it with the Borat movies because they have people sign the whatever to be in the film as a documentary about Borat, like the character Borat, not being in a Sacha Baron Cohen parody of a mockumentary, you know. So I think that's how he gets away with it.
The one thing I want to understand though is when they did this the first time, you know, they treat the process as a documentary when in fact it's pretty much a mockumentary. Borat, everybody knows who the hell Borat is now. How do you do this a second time and actually get away with it? Like, are all these people like, I don't know who this guy is, and you know, they sign off on their forms to realize that, oh, I made a mistake and now I'm going to be in a movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like the whole like why is there like 19 seasons of Impractical Jokers? You know what I'm saying? Like people are like, oh, you got me.
Because there are millions of people in New York. There's millions of people in New York.
You know, okay, yeah, all right, good point. But like, but that's another interesting point. So you guys didn't see the original until recently, right?
I've never even seen the original.
But yeah,
so other than like. But the, you know, the internet also just kind of like ruins that, because you've obviously seen Borat in other ways. Like,
yeah, I know of Borat.
Yeah, you've seen him in the Mankini. You've seen like the, you know, the memes. So I mean, it's a little bit, yeah. So how do you do that? So that's gonna be interesting how they pull it off. I love Sacha Baron. I'm gonna mispronounce so many names. Baron Cohen. I think he's great. So yeah. whatever.
Then you'll have to check out the new Aaron Sorkin movie on Netflix
Oh, I love Aaron Sorkin.
because he's in the new Sorkin movie that just came out on Netflix.
Yeah, Trial of the
Like,
Chicago
this is like-
7.
Like Newsroom Aaron Sorkin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like okay.
Yes.
Which I find quite funny that Sacha Baron Cohen is doing a very dramatic role in a Sorkin movie and then doing Borat the next week.
Right.
Like, that's pretty hilarious.
I do have to ask you, Andy, did you by chance happen to see his promo image that he put out for Amazon for when it releases here on the 23rd?
I did not. No.
There you go.
Oh, nice. Little mask save life. It covers my crown. Oh, yeah, that's great.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
It's fake news. Yeah, that's awesome.
Wear the mask.
Wear a mask.
I had to.
We're going to get taken off YouTube for that image.
I don't know how.
Again, like
It'll happen. Next up that we have coming soon, we talked about the trailer again a few weeks ago. This is the Robert Zemeckis remake of the Roald Dahl book, The Witches, starring Anne Hathaway, that's hitting HBO Max October 22nd. Just in time for spooky season.
Yep, this will fall into my October. Like this fits the bill, so I will be able to watch this here next coming few days. I'm looking forward to this. I just recently rewatched the original with Angelica Houston. I do think those are really big shoes to fill for Anne Hathaway because it is a classic movie, 30-year-old movie. I just I'm looking forward to it. It's got good people in it, and here's hoping that Robert Zemeckis doesn't crash the train.
He'll crash the Polar Express. I went on a bit of a Zemeckis rant when we talked about the trailer. I'm still very hesitant about it. A little bit. Roger Rabbit is still his best movie. There's
wrong.
No doubt about it. But this movie, I'm super on the fence about. I will probably use my HBO Max like free trial on it, but I'm very hesitant to see if this will actually hold up to the source material or the original 1990 movie. So yeah, some of the other stuff they've released since that first trailer doesn't look great either. So I'm very hesitant.
Well, I will say this as for someone who also originally read the original source material, even the first one took a lot of license and changed the ending. So there is that.
So I've seen some still images. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be muddied up by like needless CGI as opposed to the practical effects from the original.
The witch form is CGI, and it doesn't look great.
Okay.
All
be expected. I mean, what isn't CGI? Sorry, crabby old guy. Like I just watched the Thing prequel earlier today, just to like cleanse the palate after watching Midnight Meat Train so many times. Like I just need to watch other horror. Oh, gross. Hathaway, why? My mom's gonna see that. Like she was such a nice girl. But not anymore. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's not like I hate it, but I mean also
you have to admit for Anne Hathaway that is disturbing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like the smile from that shitty Blumhouse Truth or Dare movie. I'm like why are we doing this?
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Well,
So anyway, that's The Witches, HBO Max, October 22. But we do have some re-releases coming to theaters. First up, Disney Pixar's Monsters, Inc. Coming to theaters October 23rd. We'll probably get in that top 5 of the box office, much like A Nightmare Before Christmas and Hocus Pocus. Monsters, Inc., guys. Do you guys love this movie? Is this one you'd maybe check out in the theaters?
it's a seminal classic. Yes.
It would be one of those ones that I think that I would potentially go to the theater if I thought my kids could sit through wearing their masks for an hour and a half to let them experience. Other than that, probably not, just because I have it on digital anyway, but I've got Disney Plus, that kind of thing. I don't know. It's one of those ones that I think if my kids were old enough to be able to sit through a theater movie, I would go do it. But other than that, myself, nah.
Yeah, I'd probably go check it out. I've never seen Monsters Inc. in the theaters, and yeah, this is definitely one that like since Soul will not be in theaters this December, it would be nice to see a Pixar movie in the theaters at least once this year because I didn't watch Onward in the theater either. So it'd be nice to go in the theater and at least see one Pixar movie on the big screen.
It would be nice that whether or not, if Disney would actually do it, which we know that they won't. You make mention about Pixar being in the theaters, is that maybe a week or 2 weeks after they premiered on Disney Plus that they do like a cheap run or something like that at the theater and whatnot. The catch 22 to that is some theaters won't play it because it would be a dual release per se. But then you'd have places like the lower guys like West Mall, for example, that probably would pick up Soul in a heartbeat because they know that people want to go see that on the big screen.
Yeah, I don't know if Disney would do that. Disney
won't do it.
Got their own way of doing things, and they don't like to play ball most times. So
they're the 600-pound gorilla.
They are. They're the 600-pound mouse. Next up, we got A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is heading back to Cinemark theaters as part of their Halloween Classic re-releases October 23rd through the 29th. So seeing the original Wes Craven Classic on the big screen. Me and Brian, we both did already watch these on the big screen.
We did this like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was one of the first movies I watched for October.
Nice.
But yeah, highly recommend if you have not watched it on the big screen. That's a definitely
totally
a changing experience for the movie to watch it on the big screen. But then again, Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze, heading back to theaters for a 2-night only re-release. I believe it's the 40th anniversary, maybe.
How?
30th, something in there, 35th.
Oh wow, you're making me feel old.
Ghost was what? What year was Ghost?
1990, so 30 years.
Yeah.
So 30. Yeah.
Oof.
I'm only 42. Knock it off, Casey.
You get to see Patrick Swayze, mold some clay on the big screen. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
I think this actually has a little bit of some of the, that romantic movie stuff that we haven't had in the theaters as of late that I could see, a few people definitely going to want to go check this out. Like, I mean, even for as old as the movie is that it is, I enjoy this movie. It's a good movie. So
Whoopi, So I mean,
Whoopi Goldberg's great in that, but this is also 30 years ago before she went off the rails.
Yeah, true. Yeah, again, those are other conversations. But yeah, that was like back in the day, like that and Sister Acts, and like these people were on the top of their game and well written, and the effects were well done. I read somewhere, and it's probably not true, but it was like the sound of like the ghosts at the end when they came. It was actually like babies crying, but slowed down and reversed or some like crazy crap, and you're like, wow, that came from Ghost. Like, yeah, the whole like, oh my, that Ghost. And you're like, okay.
All I know is that the gentleman that you're talking about, like at the very end, is anytime I see him in anything else, I immediately go, hey, that's the asshole from Ghost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, doesn't he like end up like that way, like in most of his movies anyway? He's either that or like the dad that gets just completely like just killed anyway. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Not
but but it's one of those things that like you get this like you said, the typecast where you're just like, this was my first experience with that particular gentleman in his acting career. So anytime after that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the dickhead.
Mm-hmm. And man, was he ever.
Yeah, right. Look what you did, you jerk.
Such a dick.
So go see Ghost.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched Ghost since I was like 5 years old when my mom was watching Swayze movies all the time. So I might go check it out in the theaters. I have not watched it in a very, very long time.
I don't think I've even seen that in the theaters.
I remember.
I know. I was 12 when it came out. So this is not what I was seeing in theater when I was 12.
Yeah, no theater here. I remember when it was on like VHS, when it took like a couple of years for like movies to come out after.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it was on like it was a gray like VHS tape, and it was the first time I saw a VHS tape
That
was
wasn't
colored.
black.
It was gray. It was like light gray because it was all like I'm a sensual ghost, you know. So it had that whole like vibe. This is like before the whole Nickelodeon like Rugrats, like I have the orange VHS tape, you know. This is like the first probably colored VHS tape. Look into it, internet. Again, I don't know how it works. But, I remember seeing it like when we rented it. It was like like 1990. It was like super long ago to date myself, you know. But yeah, that's how it worked back then. Like a movie came out, and like 9 years later, like it's finally here.
Yep.
Put it in, you know, like. We didn't have the internet like you kids these days, you know. So sorry.
My first VHS tape, 1989's Batman.
Nice.
But you're right. I think it was like 90 or 91 when that finally, you know, like.
I don't want to tell you mine because then I'd feel really young.
Well, you are young, but that's beside the point.
Disney's Tarzan was my first.
Oh, wow.
Disney clamshells don't count.
They do count. Clamshells count, Brian. They count.
Clamshells count.
Clamshells count. But yeah, that's it. That's it for coming soon. So if you want to go check out our full article, go check it out on backlot605.com. There's tons of other stuff that is coming out on streaming for this upcoming week. So go check out the full article there. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll take a little break here, a quick little 30-second break, and then we'll come back. We're gonna hop aboard the train.
The choo-choo train behind me.
There it is. We're going to hop aboard the Midnight Meat Train when we come back. Hello there, boys and ghouls. This is Casey here again, just giving you a quick little plug for our upcoming horror-themed show, Lot 605. This is our brand new horror show that will be replacing the Killer Countdown, and this will be more of a discussion-based show hosted alongside myself, Mr. Blake Ginnathan, and Sam Lenz. So again, that kicks off here at the end of the month, and we'll let you know on our social medias as soon as that podcast drops and the feed is up. Until then, keep on spooking. Hey, thanks me, we're back.
Hey, thanks you. You are back.
We are back. We're talking about Midnight Meat Train here during Clive.
You're supposed to be doing your intro to Midnight Meat Train in your spooky little voice like you do for your promo there.
Midnight Meat Train. That sounds more like the old SNL announcer.
Much
Sunday,
better.
Sunday.
Tonight's host, Midnight Meat Train. Starring Bradley Cooper.
At least you don't sound like the Continental from the Saturday Night Live.
That's the only thing Midnight Meat Train is missing is like a full like SNL like opening, like they're out in public in New York and they just turn around and just That's how they should have had the end credits for this movie. That'd be pretty awesome.
Vinnie Jones will still give you the death stare.
I ain't fucking doing this. Oh, sorry, I used one. I'll let Andy have another. I was quoting Vinnie Jones. It's a quote. It doesn't count.
I think it does. Again, I don't know.
Sorry.
Tell that to the MPA.
We established that at the beginning of the show.
I'm sorry, Andy. I took your one F-bomb, but fudge. We have to. That's all we have to. We have to go full Ralphie for the rest of the episode.
Full Ralphie. That's great. I love that.
But yeah, Midnight Meat Train, 2008. This is based on the Clive Barker short story from the first Books of Blood volume of the same title, Midnight Meat Train. We have Vinnie Jones, Bradley Cooper, Leslie Bibb. One of the most well-known casts that we get out of a Clive Barker movie.
Right.
It's written by Jeff Bueller, directed by I'm gonna try to pronounce his name. I will probably try and crash and fail, but
not you.
Ryu Kitamura. I'm going to assume that's what it is. I apologize if it is wrong. It is probably wrong, but yeah, this is a Midnight Meat Train, one of the later adaptations from Barker. First of all, Andy, you are the only one in the room that has seen this movie before.
You guys still haven't seen it?
We
No,
haven't
no.
watched
At
it. No,
this
no.
point? Oh, you don't even watch it yet?
No,
Oh,
I
No.
watched-
wow.
Before
I
we
knew
recorded, you were the
so
only one that
far, so
watched
I
it.
know what
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
that is obviously coming in.
No, up until about a week ago, I had not seen it before.
Yes.
Okay. So what did you think? Or I know what I think. It's the I used the word seminal earlier and I wasted it on Monsters Inc. But I should have used it for this one because it's your standard Clive Barker movie where there's a guy or somebody that just descends into madness in search of something, and you get there. He or she gets embroiled in this whole thing, and there's a whole. In my head, I've started to call it the Barkerverse. I don't know if it really exists, but like the way Books of Blood recently released on Hulu. Give me free Hulu. After that just came out, like how they like intertwined those stories. Like, why can't you do that with the other stories? Like Hellraiser and all those guys. Like, so, oh man, I'm super excited about the Midnight Meat Train. Get on board.
Yeah, when the we'll get into the ending when we talk some spoilers, but when we got to the ending, I'm like, yeah, this could totally tie into like Nightbreed or Hellraiser somehow.
Oh,
Right.
sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's popped in my head the other day. Like it's the same. In so many ways, it's the same. Yeah, same stuff.
Well, for me, it was one of those things that I know of Clive Barker. I'd watched a little bit. Like I'm a huge fan of Nightbreed. I always have been since that was one of those movies I should not have been watching as a kid, as a middle
Right.
schooler. I should not have been watching Nightbreed. But going into Midnight Meat Train, like you definitely get like the psychological aspect of it. You get the going into madness kind of thing and whatnot, and then you get towards the latter half of the third act, and like there's the Clive Barker I've been looking for.
Right. Yeah.
Like it for the most part, like especially the first two acts of this film, it is very. It for me, it was very refreshing. Is the fact that it wasn't your atypical monster movie coming out of Clive Barker. Like
right.
Most of the monsters really is coming out of Bradley Cooper's character descent into his madness over this guy that he's come across.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the huge draw. There's no like Danny Elfman soundtrack. There's no like crazy, and I'm not talking like any sort of crap about it, but like there's no like prosthetics right off the bat. There's no like you're like, who is this guy? Like, why is he killing people right now? And why am I supposed to care? Other than Bradley Cooper, who's just dreamy, and Vinny Jones, who is just like, I love that they call his name is Mahogany because he's just essentially like wood. Back to the whole like he just says one thing.
Isn't that like Vinny Jones's acting career? It's very wooden anyway.
Like,
because
about your work, mate. Like, I say one or two things. That's about it.
Because there's no real good way in Hollywood to say you're a brick wall, like acting against a brick wall.
But I would not say that to his face because it would be terrifying. And
he would smash in your face if you said that.
You bring up an interesting point to that is what would you do if you were face to face with Vinny Jones? That would be a question that you should have asked somebody. This is 2020, so about
in 2008
was it 2008?
Yeah.
When Vinny Jones was in town and got himself into a bar fight in downtown Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
I would I would start what's that from Euro Trip. I would start doing like my baby takes the morning. You remember that? Is anybody else that? Or is that just me?
No, Euro Trip is amazing.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. That's what I would start doing. I would start singing that like song, and then hope to God that would like keep me from getting like just beaten down to a point. And if that didn't work, then I just don't know.
I now want to rewatch Euro Trip again.
Right? Euro Trip. I mean, I was thinking about all the movies he was in, and like that one just like kept on coming up, and like I just giggled to myself. I was like, he was in Euro Trip.
It's funny. It's that's one of those cameos that I don't remember, but I remember the hell out of Matt Damon's cameo in that movie.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, the internet. Damn it.
Because
yeah.
Scotty doesn't know.
He'll never find out either.
So, not to get off topic. So yes, that you know, I also when I remember when like the promo stuff for this movie first came out, and it doesn't, from face value, it doesn't scream anything Clive Barker. It does not scream anything what that to the point, and also too is, you know, your monsters per se of any sort of film and whatnot are typically, you know, horrendous looking and stuff like that. And you literally just have Vinnie Jones on a movie poster sitting in a subway car, and you're just like, I think when people go into this movie, I don't think they're going to get what they expect out of this movie by the end of the film. Like
Right.
that's one of the biggest things I really enjoyed about it, because the marketing for this, him as the main character and whatnot is completely not Clive Barker.
I'll partially disagree, because the whole like story of like this guy that dresses up in a suit and he rides the subway and turns out he's a butcher and hangs carcasses in the back of the train. Like that's totally a Clive Barker thing. Like Barker usually comes up with stories just by sitting down and watching people and be like, what if that guy like murdered and butchered people in its subway and hung them up by their feet? And just wrote a whole story about it. Like that's how he comes up with his stuff. Like, but like the marketing for this movie, I will say, is not Barker at all. I think it's marketed
and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
like if you not being a horror guy or not even knowing who Clive Barker is, knowing that this is just basically based off something he wrote, you're not going to go into this movie and go, this is totally Hellraiser, this is Candyman, this is, you know, Rawhead Rex. This is completely the outlier to the rest of those films.
That's like super funny that you guys bring up the marketing for it, because like I remember like buying this movie, and it's like first, I'm not saying its first incarnation isn't probably the right way of doing it, but like it was from like Movie Gallery. Again, I'll date myself. I remember those. It was like on sale. I was like, what's this about? You know, and it's got him, like, you don't even really see him because he's kind of fogged over. He's in between like a couple doors. He's got his like, you know, he's beating hammer, woo, 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 you know. But then it came out, but then I remember seeing it later on in stores when Bradley Cooper became popular. They like re-released the marketing with like him on the front. So it wasn't Vinnie Jones on the front anymore. It was a familiar, like, oh, I like him. He was in that Hangovers movies, you know, like he was in whatever else he was in, you know. So like it always made me wonder if there was more of if that's how it got people, like, because I was in from the beginning. I'm an OG MMT fan, you know, or however the acronyms go. But you know, so it just always made me, I was always curious about that. If his star power was enough to get enough people back on the train, as it were.
Yeah, I think like that's a big marketing thing for this movie now, is the fact that it's Bradley Cooper, superstar Bradley Cooper, in a horror movie with Vinnie Jones. Like, yeah, back in 2008, the guy is still trying to break out. Like he gets his break. When did this come out? 2008.
Yep, 2008.
So like October is what it says here. So yeah, I mean, The Hangover would have been out by then, but Hangover was his big break.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, probably back in 2008, you're probably still not wanting to see the Hangover guy in a horror movie like this.
Right. I think this got a very limited release, if I'm not mistaken, which really pissed off Clive. I'm not on a first name basis, so I'm going to take
Mr. Barker.
It's Mr. Barker.
But also, like, when I was thinking about this, it came 2008, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of when they kind of started doing, like, there was a resurgence of 3D movies. Was there not around that time?
Yeah,
there's just so many shots in this movie that are just undeniably like, that has got to be a 3D shot. You know, like there's dolly shots, and there's so much. It's like
there's eyeballs like flying at the screen, and
right. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. And it, like, I just thought about it because it's like, well, right around 2008, they kind of started, you know, doing that whole shtick again. You know, so I'm like, I hope that this got a 3D release, but I really doubt it. But
I think you're right on point though. I mean, the next year was Avatar, which is one of the biggest 3D experience movies ever. So yeah, but this movie has that vibe of that like mid to late 2000s, especially like
Yep.
my biggest problem with this movie was the CGI in it, because you have practical effects along with the CGI, but the CGI sticks out like a sore thumb.
Oh yeah,
where the practical effects are fantastic in this
Practical
movie.
effects are great. One thing I do want to point out, especially when we're talking about early on in this film, and I went to go see if there was any other ones that I had missed and whatnot, but you do realize this is the second movie that we've talked about on the Clive Barker series, which involves Ted Raimi.
We were talking about that before the show. I mentioned that we're going to be talking about an actor we talked about earlier. It is Mr. Ted Raimi.
I completely missed him. Oh, well, I remember you saying that part. I was like, I didn't. Yeah, but yeah.
What's the other? Yeah,
Candyman.
Ted Raimi's in the very beginning of Candyman.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He plays like Billy, or he's literally the throwaway character that gets killed at the very beginning of the movie.
Nice. Nice. Not nice for him, but no, he has such a weird scene in Midnight Meat Train. Like it's like a coworker, like a friend. Yep. Not to give too much away, but like this guy's basically trying to accost him and his wife, possibly for some really weird dinner event, and then next thing you know, he gets Vinnie Jonesed. So.
He gets the eyeball out of the socket.
He gets the eyeball on the side, which
was weird as hell.
Guy is it is so over the top because, it's unpleasant, but not in a. I don't mind gore whatsoever, but like you guys said, the practical effects were on point up until then, and you're like, well, that kind of just.
We should briefly give a plot for this movie. We've been talking about it for 20 minutes and we haven't said what the goddamn movie's about. We should probably do that.
What is the movie about, Casey?
The movie is Bradley Cooper is this New York photographer. He's trying to make his big break. And then one night he comes across this we find out later in the movie she was a model, but she's about to get mugged by this group of guys. He uses his smarts. He uses the fact that he has a camera and that there is a security camera right next to him to basically diffuse the situation. The guys take off. They leave. The girl goes down into the subway and then is later murdered by Vinnie Jones, Mahogany. And this leads Bradley Cooper just down this descent into madness, into this rabbit hole of trying to figure out what happened to this woman, who this guy is, what his whole story is. There's newspaper articles about this butcher from like the 1800s, and he thinks he might be him or might be some version of him, and thinks there's a weird conspiracy going on. So yeah, it's basically Bradley Cooper's photographer character just descending into madness, trying to figure out who this mad butcher is on the subway that's killing people and hanging them by their feet like they're cow carcasses.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, I guess.
Heck
yeah.
I would also like to point out too that when he starts going into this here, because he needs to find that one photo or those few photos that are going to get him that big break, that it's Brooke Shields is who he's trying to get his big break with. Like that was the face that popped up. I'm like, oh hey, I haven't seen her for a while.
The little cameos in the movie are what make it, like, in so many ways. Besides her and who you guys we already talked about, Ted Raimi. The guy that kind of hassles Mahogany when he gets on the train. I think he's his guardian or something like that on his jacket. That's Quentin Rampage Jackson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that at first, but then I thought
I didn't realize it until before you came on. Casey made reference to Rampage Jackson. I was like, you don't think he's been in his A-Team? He's like, he's in this movie too. I'm like, I totally missed that.
Right. I was like, that probably came out right around that same time, and I was like, well, who was in that? Bradley Cooper.
It's a conspiracy.
It's a Midnight Meat.
Know who else was in A-Team? Liam
Neeson.
Oh my God! 6 degrees of Liam Neeson. Liam
Neeson might have less degrees than Kevin Bacon at this point.
Oh man, wow, we've come full circle.
It's gone full circle. I like it. So first time watching this movie, I was surprised by how much this movie is like a cat and mouse game throughout it. Like Bradley Cooper's trying to figure out, what's happening, what's going on, and it's really fun, like seeing him like investigating and following Vinnie Jones around and figuring out that he works at a meat packing plant and he's a butcher, and figuring out that in the 1800s there was also a butcher that murdered a bunch of people, and figuring out like how he works within him leaving to go to the subway and stuff like that, and figuring out that the ring that he took a picture of with the girl is the same ring Vinnie Jones has, and like it's really good stuff with that. I think that it's super fascinating, like, and that's also a very different thing than regular Barker that we've covered with like Candyman and Nightbreed so far. It's or we'll cover with Hellraiser next week. It's very different than that. It's a nice change of pace for this movie.
Right.
And yeah, but I have only, unfortunately, I'm like halfway through reading the original short story, and like the original short story is the concept is pretty much the same, except the perspective is split between Bradley Cooper's character, Leon, and then Mahogany Vinnie Jones. You follow both of them the equal amount in the short story, which is really interesting. And he's not a photographer in the short story.
What is he in the short story?
Yeah.
I think he's like
just a crazy guy that's following some great big huge behemoth that doesn't speak.
I'm only halfway through the story, but basically I'm getting to like where they first meet each other. But I think they just meet each other on the subway or on the underground train. Like I think they just randomly meet each other there.
Yeah, what is his inner monologue like, Mahogany's?
He says a lot more.
He does. He gets to talk a lot. But he's if the movie was more based on that, Liam Neeson would have played this character. Like that's what the character's supposed to be, an older guy that's kind of looking for a new apprentice in a way to take over for what he's doing. So they kind of touch on the mythical aspects very early in the short story already. And his inner monologue is like, I should probably find someone else and teach them how to do all this, like skin the carcasses and get all the meat and cut the hair and teach them how to do it. So it's a lot of his inner monologue. It's very different than this. Like the overall story is still pretty much the same, but it's a very different way of approaching it.
Which they figured that Vinnie Jones's accent was too thick, so they just cut all the lines out.
And then I put all the things into bags, and then I shaved the mates' hairs and the pubes, and then like 2 hours of that would probably Yeah,
you'll have to let us know that once you get done reading the story about the whole tongue thing, if that explains why that he wasn't talking.
Just until right.
I don't know if that's part of the short story or not. I'll let you know when I finish it. But yeah, let's jump back to the movie though. I think this movie is tremendously acted. Like I think Bradley Cooper is really good. Leslie Bibb is really good. Mm-hmm. It's a rare movie with Vinnie Jones where they know how to use Vinnie Jones, where he is only given 2 lines of dialogue, and that's
but he executes them very well while trying to gargle through fake blood.
Yeah, and like Vinnie Jones's thing should just be he's the big muscular guy you're scared of. And that's all he is in this movie. And I think that's a perfect way to use the guy. Like, don't give him big monologues and lines of dialogue or him yelling, "I'm the juggernaut, bitch." We don't need any of that. Like, I could have used the line, maybe, I'm mahogany, bitch, but, we didn't need it.
That'd be hilarious, though, not going to lie. I'm mahogany.
Mahogany, bitch. Bitch.
So what are some big scenes that stick out to you guys in this movie? I mean, we touched on Ted Raimi's death. I think that's a very, very great scene. CGI takes over a little bit, but I think it's a very effective way of showing what Vinnie Jones's character does and how he does it.
Right. Well, and even too, I mean, like, the Ted Raimi where you basically see like the start of everything, but like when you get further into the movie, you start to see more and more and more of what his process is. Like where you actually seen him bagging up all of the clothes, where you actually seen him tend to the bodies and stuff like that, where, you don't know what's going on. You just know these people are disappearing. that you do get to see that progression of his character throughout the film. I think is also something worth noting.
When he sticks his finger in the steak juice of his friend, and up until that point he was a vegan, and all of a sudden this guy's supposed to be okay with it, and he's like, I want to eat that, and like all of a sudden all these ladies watching it are like, I want him to eat that too, Bradley. It's like, Bradley Cooper, you stop.
That's a really big question I have for you guys, because they do set up like he's vegan, he's eating tofu, but then later in the movie, like after he realizes that Vinnie Jones is a butcher, all of a sudden he's like, I want to eat steak and lick the juice off your plate. Like and it never comes back up after that scene though either.
It's
kind of just left there. I don't think it totally works.
It's almost kind of like with his descent into madness for his character is the idea of he knows that he's kind of hit that mark with Mahogany, that he's pretty much thinks that I'm gonna die, so why not just eat the steak, kind of thing. That's kind of what I got out of it. Is he can't stop pursuing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense.
Do you think, like, in being part of this whole cabal, and I use that because it's in Nightbreed,
hey,
you're automatically imbued with these just like qualities, these powers, like how the conductor was like, you know what, I really want to eat all, like all of a sudden you just have this desire to. Can we give away the? I mean, the movie's been out since 2008.
Here's the spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler, but yeah. So everybody likes to eat meats. It's like a whole train, but like like the Tony Curran, who was awesome in Underworld. Am I pronounced like that guy? The conductor came out like, please step away from the meats. When he says that, it's like, oh. And then all the things happen. But like, does he eat part of Leslie Bibb? Does the conductor eat Leslie Bibb, or what happens to Leslie Bibb? Sorry, we're doing segues again.
We're jumping all the way to the end. She gets killed by the conductor.
That's
right. I'm fine with that. We jump around wherever the fuck
wherever the hell we want.
That all the time.
Oh, you did it again. That's too.
Shoot.
FCC won't let you be. But okay, yeah. So like, does being part of this, do you get these super strong powers? Because the conductor lifted Leon up like he ain't want nothing. I mean, do you just like kind of, you're hungry and you're strong all of a sudden?
I don't wonder if it's because he's a part of that little inner circle thing that is providing for these things that we don't know if maybe they're basically, it's that mutual thing that they're providing for these things. So those things are providing him and that group of people like ability or, longevity or, hard to say. I mean, because we don't see it out of other characters that we learn and figure out that are part of this little society thing. We just see it out of him. But I would imagine that these people aren't going to just maybe outside of just fear of death, be like, yeah, I'm going to help cover up, 3,000 murders,
right?
Over the course of how many years, that sort of thing, without them having some sort of like, yeah, I'm getting something out of this.
Right. Like the detective, like, okay, yeah, right.
And I think it's all like it's a balance thing. Like the creatures that eat the humans that are on the train, like that's what they need to feed on to survive. And it feels like the detective character and the conductor are all part of this like weird underground society that
right.
They get to live above ground and keep their power of where they're at because they feed the
exactly
dwellers of like the underground New York trains. Like it's I don't know. It's a totally a Barker thing that.
So
like this could tie into night.
Do you think they're berserkers? Do you think they could be berserkers? Do you think are they berserkers?
Ooh, it could be.
Are they? I don't think. Could they be?
Yeah. There goes the Barkerverse. That's the only reason why I said it. Like, because there's so many of these movies that would totally intersect in so many logical ways. It wouldn't be a forced universe in any sense of the word. Like Lord of Illusions, any of them. I mean, from what I remember from Nightbreed, the berserkers were a little bit more stockier and like their
Mhm.
movement was a little bit more cumbersome, but that could just be because it came out in like what 88, 89. And whereas like we've got, and thank God like these creatures were not CGI, because that was just, you know, when
That
it
would
did
have been
happen,
bad.
when the O moment happened, it's like there's things eating those things, you know. Like thank God it wasn't like some shitty CGI like abomination, you know. It was something it brought it back to Barker, like, you know,
Mhm.
like, yeah, just some meat flesh, meat train, meat.
Mate. I think there is a ton of like Barker references in this movie too, like where you could connect every Barker movie kind of in this weird universe. Like I could definitely connect it to Nightbreed.
Yeah.
And I feel like them getting hung up and stuff seems like something like out of Hellraiser, and that would have happened there.
Oh
And like
God.
Bradley Cooper and Vinnie Jones both carry hooks on their hand. I'm like, Candyman. Like there's all of our references. We got them all in here.
Yeah. We need
Where's
a
Rawhead?
Fuck Rawhead Rex. Oh God, that
Yeah.
was like a
There it is.
bomb. Sorry.
I definitely make sure to hit the explicit button now.
Beep, boop.
Well, even like when they go to the art gallery, I think most of the actual like paintings in that are just Barker's paintings.
They are.
Oh,
He was
probably.
involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, it's not. I love all kinds of art. Like the behind the scenes stuff on Midnight Meat Train. He's got like just so many more stories out there, and a lot of them just exist in painting form. Like there's like a whole series based on this little girl who like interacts through all these like different like universes that are based on every hour of the day. And of course, as you go into like the midnight hours and like 3 a.m. and stuff, it gets progressively more like screwed up. Only Barker can, you know. Like,
Mhm.
he did like a series of like paintings of chickens as part of it, because this girl is like a Dorothy character almost, that just kind of descends again like a normal person, just descending into like just complete like my dogs like at the foot. Sorry, just yeah, that's it's crazy. But yeah, he did the set dressings for all that. He's probably in the scenes when you know, Leon's talking with is it Jarvis or Jurgis or whatever, you know, and there's a couple guys like just checking out some paintings in the background. I'm like, I bet that's Clive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Probably.
Yeah, and again, like like if we in this whole mini series with Barker, like we're talking about Barkerisms, and like a lot of his stuff is like hypersexualized too. And I think we
Mhm.
at least get one scene of it, which is I'm like, all right, we get the one scene, that's fine. Where it's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden Bradley Cooper shows up at the diner that Leslie Bibb, his girlfriend, works at, and then they just bang right on the counter of the diner. It's like, all right, there it is. There's the Barker
Yeah.
sex scene. All right, we
That's
get
so
it.
yeah. That's another thing about Barker films. That's very like, I mean, you watch horror movies growing up, and the sex scenes are all like limited to, you know, stupid teenagers. Like, come on, babe, let's get high and bang in my van. But like Barker, there's this extra layer to it that makes you feel uncomfortable as a youth that you watch like anything sexual. You're like stuff you're not really prepared to like watch, and then later on you have to deal with like as an adult. Like that's messed up stuff that only Barker can bring you. And there's so many like, oh yeah, Barker, y'all. Barker.
You
Sorry.
say that, and I remember that scene because like the way it just pans over to Leslie Bibb, it almost to the point where it's like she herself was not prepared for that scene. Like
Right.
even she herself looked uncomfortable.
Wow. Yeah. Bradley Cooper. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like he was meant to win Academy Awards or something.
Yeah, he's kind of good at what he does. I don't know. Weird.
The guy is a freaking movie star, and he has everything that it takes to be a movie star. He's a great actor. He's one of the sexiest men alive. Like, yeah, he has everything for it. And to see him in this weird like B horror movie with like Vinnie Jones, and it's about people getting hung up by their feet and eaten by weird monsters from underground New York. Like, it's like, yeah, you should be in this movie. That's awesome. Yeah,
I do want to. I would love to wonder what would happen if this movie had come out 10 years later instead of 2008, 2018, after he's already established himself and whatnot. If this would have maybe even had a better draw, you probably wouldn't have Vinnie Jones be your Mahogany. But outside, I would be curious just to see, you know, what it would be like if it was.
I don't know if so for Bradley Cooper, I don't know if he would do this anymore. I think he's gone.
God, no.
Yeah, he's past it now. He's the director of Stars Born now. He's winning Academy Awards and hanging out with the Hollywood elite. He ain't gonna go do a B movie based on a Clive Barker book called Midnight Meat Train.
He's made 3 Hangover movies. I think your objection is moot.
Oh, money. Those made a lot of money, and he got paid a lot of money. This did not. Which leads me, I'm going to look up the box office for this movie. I wonder how much this did pull in. But yeah, what are some other things that stick out for you guys in the movie?
I mean, Leslie Bibb was like in everything back then. I feel as though she was like in pretty much every movie in between like 2005 and 2010, 2012, around there. You know, like I just remember.
Well, I mean, she was able to get into the MCU and into the Transformers movies. So I mean, there's 2 of the biggest franchises right around that time. You're absolutely correct in that respect.
Talladega Nights is what I remember her from a lot, and Trick or Treat, one of the. If you haven't watched it, spooky season already, you should. Probably one of the best anthology movies out there. That's a whole other. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's a whole episode we have to do.
The first time the other night. Sorry.
Body Bags rules.
Midnight An anthology I've never seen.
Which one?
That one.
Body Bags?
No, well, just Trick or Treat.
Oh,
you haven't seen Trick or Treat?
You will, Brian. You will.
Leslie Bibb is mad at you.
So I got the box office results here for Midnight Meat Train. So domestically, this is what it pulled in for its domestic run here. $83,000.
Nice.
Its international gross $3.4 million.
Question: how many theaters though? Because that definitely screams limited, and by limited I mean a really limited release.
I think it was a very, very limited release. It doesn't give a theater count on it.
That tells me something, that if it was like open in New York and LA and that's about it. Like it opened where they needed to open to give it a theatrical quote unquote release.
And like from the get-go, it's a tough sell. The title, like, can we call it The Guy That Kills People on Subways? Maybe. No. Midnight Meat Train. Like, it's Clive Barker though. Like, Bradley Cooper, who I don't know. Like, yeah,
and like in 2008, all we're getting for horror movies at this time is the remake era. Like, we're getting remakes of the classic 80s slashers. We're getting the remakes of the J horror movies. That's all Hollywood is for horror movies at this time. So original adaptations like this are not going to get big releases. Or even like a movie we just talked about, Trick or Treat, didn't come out like until 3 or 4 years after it was finished, and it didn't get a theatrical run either. So yeah, this was not a great time for horror movies, and does not surprise me this movie did not make money. And again, that's why I think Bradley Cooper would never do this type of movie again. He's making millions of dollars on the Hangover movies, now the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He's doing Clint Eastwood movies. He's a director himself now. He is too big for this now, but it is very cool to watch, like, superstar Bradley Cooper when he was first kind of coming into the game, doing a Barker adaptation in 2008 that feels very different than the movies that were coming out during that time too, because it's very stylized too. This is a very stylized movie. Like the shot when at the end of the movie Bradley Cooper and Vinnie Jones are fighting and it's just circling around the train.
Oh,
like,
that was
in and out. I'm like, it's great.
I don't know. They could have done something different with that, personally. Just for the sake of argument, because I figured out where I needed to look here for you. 102 theaters. This was open for 2 weeks. It went from 102 theaters to 70, 90 theaters, and then it was out. It came in at number 43 on the week that it came out, August 1st of that year. Or that weekend, yep.
Yeah. But it's one of those movies that I think has definitely developed a cult following behind it now too, though. Like people are still like even right now. Me and Brian are just discovering the movie, like doing a first time watch here, 12 years later. It feels very much like a cult movie, and I think that's just Barker in general. Like none of his stuff is very commercial. I think the only reason Hellraiser was super commercial was the fact that it was in the 80s. Freddy, Jason, and Michael are making bonkers money. Here's another guy with pins in his face on the cover. Like, yeah, this guy's gonna make some money back then.
Yeah.
You know, I want to add another layer to that, and I think it's one of the reasons why I think Hellraiser and like Pinhead really kind of kept going, like you said there is, yeah, you're absolutely right, because of like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, all that, you know, come through. We've got this new iconic character that they're building up through Pinhead and whatnot. But when that movie came out is really kind of, I think, especially with like the sake of you talk about the hypersexualized that is a Clive Barker film. You know, the leather, all the hooks and stuff like that. I think it was that hypersexualization is what's kind of projected those Hellraiser movies and kept them going for as long as they have, because before that you weren't picturing somebody in a leather suit prior to Hellraiser coming out, really.
Yeah, and I think like the 80s itself it was especially in horror, it's like every horror movie had a ton of blood and a ton of boobs. And it's like Barker, that falls into his MO, but he does it very differently than like 80s slasher movies do.
Yes.
And this movie, like if Midnight Meat Train came out in 1988 instead of 2008, I think this would have been a big hit.
Yeah.
And we probably would have gotten sequels with Bradley Cooper, but his character Leon, like we would have gotten sequels probably, or I think it just would have been a much bigger.
We would have known more about what those monsters are on the train at the end of the movie.
Right.
2 years later, it would have tied into Nightbreed. You know, it all would have made sense.
The Barker version.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other final thoughts before we kind of wrap up our conversation on the Midnight Meat Train?
I would say especially for like I said, for me, it's very not Clive Barker-ish until you get to the end of that third act. But for the sake of the Descent of Madness, for the sake of the thriller aspect of it, I think it's a good watch. I think anybody should at least take the opportunity to sit down and watch this, even if your main, bad guy is Vinnie Jones.
It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, it's a fun movie. If you're seeing it for the first time, it will keep you guessing. You know, like when the ending hits and I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel by any means.
No.
Maybe in the Barkerverse a little bit, but it's a fun watch. I mean, you could definitely do worse. You definitely could do worse in the world of horror. Yeah, you always can do worse. It kind of depends on what you're in the mood for, But it's a very good Clive Barker film, and it stands on its own 2 feet as a very well-written horror film, like we talked about, comprised of a lot of character actors or a lot of people that you've seen in a lot of different things. So I mean, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I think it'll draw people in with the fact that Bradley Cooper is in a horror movie kind of before he made it big, but I think people will stick around and still want to talk about it because it is a good movie. It is a very good movie. It's a nice change of pace from typical Barker stuff. Like I said, it's a change of pace from other horror movies in the, mid to late 2000s. I think it's definitely a nice change of pace. It's super stylized. I think the CGI, unfortunately, like I said, doesn't hold up, but there's not a whole lot of it that it takes you out of the movie completely. Whereas I think which is nice in the third act is it's pretty much all practical effects in the third act with the final fight and the final confrontations. Like that's all practical stuff, and I think it works really well. And yeah, if you're looking for just a lean, mean movie, this is it. Like right here, this is you're gonna feel a little gross, but you're not. It's not one of those like I need to take a shower after or anything like that. It just makes you. It gives you all the like if you're looking for like grotesque stuff or like the blood and guts, like, but without having to feel sick like you would like with a Saw or Hostel movie. It's not quite to that, but it's close enough that you're gonna get all the stuff you still like. So
It's gory,
Well-
but it's torture porn, and it's like a nice escape from like what, like you said, what we had at that time. Like we just came back from like all the Kevin Williamson, like, you know, your I Know What You Did Last Summer screams and all the teeny bopper stuff where like people are getting stabbed, but we didn't get to see their insides as much as we'd like, you know.
all right, I have one more thing before we wrap it up. Andy, if it's all right with you, I want to show off the drawings that you did for this.
Please do so.
All right, let's add them in here. I think these are freaking awesome. Let's get rid of
Get
this.
rid of
There
that
we
guy.
go. So yeah, we got to show these off. So if you're listening just on audio, please go check us out on YouTube. We'll share them on social media too. But yeah, these are awesome here, man. These are great. There's Bradley Cooper, and we do see a little Vinnie Jones there in the bottom. I like it.
Yes. Like when we were talking about like their ankles and their legs and stuff, like hanging, like at the end when they just get yanked off, like I love those moments when you just feel it in that particular body part. Like I haven't felt that way since the first time I saw Pet Cemetery and Judd gets his Achilles. Oh man!
That's exactly what I was thinking of too. I'm like, because you don't get a whole lot of like ankle stuff happening to you,
right?
And it's like,
again. If people are listening and watching, ankle stuff, we want ankle stuff. And Liam
Ankle stuff sounds like something that you're going to need a safe word for when you get done.
Yeah,
I need some ankle stuff.
You got feet people, you got ankle people.
It's what Liam Neeson needs on the set of a Taken movie. Give me some of that ankle stuff.
Ankle stuff. Vinnie Jones shows up I'm here to administer your ankle stuff. And that's all I'll say.
With this suit on, too.
It's a nice 3-piece.
Oh, yeah.
We
So
had
if
a
you're
shot like that in the movie, wasn't there? Like a dolly shot where like it kind of goes back through the head, or was that the Raimi shot? Or did I just? Because I know I didn't make that up. Or
I swear I don't know what, because when I was looking through these, I'm like, what's that from?
It also kind of reminds me. I probably subconsciously borrowed it from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they like at the beginning when the girl shoots herself and they dolly out through the back of the wound.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
the remake of Texas Chainsaw, yeah.
You get the premise though, like Vinnie Jones kills people.
And there it is. There's I didn't even notice all the train tracks.
Subway track.
I had to Google that because South Dakota. I've never been on a subway before. I'm like, subway, and I'm like,
what does the subway map look like? I don't know.
Right. It just gives you a map to Subway in Aberdeen.
On the subway, I'd be the guy getting killed on the meat train because I'm from South Dakota. I'm like, well, it says here that this is Vinnie Paul or Jones. I knew I'd say Vinnie Paul at the beginning of this. I was like, don't say Vinnie Paul because I like Pantera. I'm not a felon though. So I was like, I'm gonna say it at least once during the thing. But yeah, Vinnie Jones. Sorry, Mr. Jones.
If you're listening, Mr. Jones, Andy, these are awesome.
Thanks,
where? So we should have done this at the top, and I feel horrible as a host for the show. We did not talk about Skinny Idiot before. We're gonna talk about it now. Then let's do it because we're showing off the drawings. You are an artist. You do fantastic art like this. Like, talk to us a little bit about Skinny Idiot and what you do.
I do pop art. If it's on TV or somewhat relevant, I've probably sketched it out or painted it. I like to specialize in superhero stuff. Love doing horror stuff. I didn't do any cons this year. Didn't do the online thing, but previous years that's my jam. I've got some drawings. I don't know like what you can see and what you can't. Like I love doing horror stuff in particular. I don't know what you guys can. Sorry about the glare.
Hold on, give me 1 second. I will put your screen up.
We got a rogues gallery kind of type stuff. I don't know. I had some paintings laying around, like, you know. I mean, I love horror. Always have that kind of type stuff. So yeah, check me out. I'm always doing paintings. Always trying to do whatever relevant. I don't know. There's not a lot of pop culture stuff going out these days, so it's a little bit stagnant. So thank God for politics. There's always some like stupid like sketches to be had with that. Like that whole fly, it was on his head for like 2 minutes. I don't know if you saw it or not, but yeah.
I think the entire internet saw that fly, including the Jeff Goldblum version of that fly.
Like I saw that when I went to bed, like the fly, not like the Jeff Goldblum stuff. Like right before I went to sleep, like I'm gonna make a sketch in the morning, and then I woke up, and then the internet like had already responded in kind. Like whoa, like it's insane. Like,
can I request a sketch for idea for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes.
Since we're talking Midnight Meat Train, and you just mentioned some politics, can we get Trump and Biden as the characters from Midnight Meat Train? I'll let you decide who's who.
Wow.
Well,
who would be who?
At that point, he turns in his final piece, and we're like, well, we know which way he leans.
Yeah. But I mean, like, neither. Oh wow.
Maybe that's a piece you release after the election.
Yeah, I don't want to like.
The winner gets to have the big hammer mallets in their hand.
Such a cool. We never talked about that though. Such a cool weapon.
It
like,
is
throughout. Like such a cool weapon.
The meat tenderizer.
Yes,
Heck yeah.
To get like kill. Oh yeah. Like you've got the machete, you've got the chainsaw. You've never seen a meat tenderizer, and so shiny and just such a lovely day.
One of the things I wanted to point out really quick here is I went to go check out what the reviews for this were for the sake of Rotten Tomatoes, because for the sake of the user reviews, it's 50%, which I could totally understand for this film. You're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. Mm-hmm. It is definitely that kind of film and whatnot. This movie actually, for the sake of Vinnie Jones' movie, is rated as 73% from the critics, and is tied with Snatch and only loses to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I forgot. Like, of course he'd be in those movies. Those are oh yeah.
So this is a seminal Vinnie Jones movie then. This is
very much so. Yes, it is. I mean, basically, this is your highest rated American film out of him, because the other two are, British movies.
But like in general, like really, because those like Lock, Stock, and I remember in was he in Rock and Rolla? Like the whole, all those Guy Ritchie like was
No, right? Not in Rock and Rolla. At least not a real quick on. That
was a good movie. Sorry, but.
Or at least what's pulling up anyway on Rotten Tomatoes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, and then next after that, I mean, he's in Escape Plan at 50%. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like, he's got Kill the Irishman, and then after that, he just kind of goes off the rails at that point. Gone in 60 Seconds at 25%. Swordfish at 25%. It's just. But I mean, it's saying something for the fact that this is a highly This is not the kind of movie I would expect a critic to come back and say this is a great film, kind of thing. Right. This is the one where I would expect those numbers to be reversed. In fact, actually, that the user reviews would be higher than the critic reviews. The fact that this is at a 73%, I think definitely does say a lot to the film, though.
And that's just Rotten Tomatoes saying it's a fresh movie. It's more positive than negative,
right?
So I think that definitely fits with this movie. Like,
I would agree. And almost 144,000 people went on to Rotten Tomatoes to voice their opinion for that 50%. So you look at that. You look at the amount of numbers that they made at the box office. I don't think 143,000 people saw it to begin with.
No,
probably not. So this is definitely one of those movies that. It got its steam afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So I get it. Steam like a train. I get it. That's funny. Mm-hmm.
This is a subway. It's on electricity. Get it right, man.
Yeah. So that has been Midnight Meat Train. We're gonna wrap it up here. The movie is on Amazon Prime. So if you want to go check it out, I think it's also on Tubi TV for free. So pretty easily accessible movie to go check out. Perfect October movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Put on the docket. So let's wrap it up. We'll give some plugs here. If you liked this show and you want to check out us every single week, we drop a new episode every Wednesday. Please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and to see our lovely faces, go ahead, subscribe on YouTube, and you can see what we do every single week. Also, check us out on backlot605.com. That's where you can check us out. Our latest movie news, reviews, articles are coming soon is up on there. So you go check us out there, backlot605.com. And then also, if you would, please go check us out on Patreon. We have 3 tiers, $1, $3, $5. If you are part of that $5 tier, you get a bonus episode each and every month, which will be dropping this upcoming Sunday, where me and Brian talked about Rawhead Rex. So if you need some more Barker for the month,
if you absolutely need to,
you need it. Yeah, go check out. You
get to hear our wonderful talk about Rawhead Rex.
Yeah. So yeah, go check that out. Patreon.com/backlot605. Brian, where can they follow us on social media?
They can check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, where we like to be able to put up all the wonderful information that is what we got going on and all the stuff for our articles and whatnot. They can also check us out on the South Dakota Film Community Group on Facebook. Help join the conversation, and let's talk about movies. And speaking of the Patreon, I just want to throw that out there because everybody needs to see Rawhead Rex.
Yeah, there he is.
This wonderful being right here. That is a face only a mother can love.
That's like we got some things left over from Pumpkinhead, and I don't know, some other. It's so bad.
we have a predator tooth here, and we'll take an alien.
It needs 2 mouths. Just give it 2 mouths.
And Andy, what about you? Where can people find you and all your artwork?
Normally hanging outside the gas station. Are
you Jay or Silent Bob?
Andy Grody, Grodeeu. I'm on the Instagram. There's like some underscores, Skinny Idiot Studios. I'm just trying to build up my online profile. You know how these things work. But I'm always around. I'm always doing something. So hit me up. I would love to create art for you, whoever you are.
For all the people listening, go check him out. Skinny Idiot Studios. Please go check out his awesome artwork. And man, this was a super fun episode. Went off the rails as Midnight Meat Train should, in the best way possible. So
using the term off the rails when we're talking about a subway car, what the heck?
So again, man, Andy, thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself immensely. Go watch the Midnight Meat Train.
And I'm just gotta find something else to get Andy on to talk about.
Ooh.
And next time I have to remember to bring my beer.
Sorry, am I the first person to do this? I mean,
drinking. Well, it's not that we haven't had beers while doing this here, just not during quarantine.
Yeah. Even though that's probably the best time we should have been doing it, but maybe next time. Next time Andy's on the show, we'll have some beers on it. We'll
have to get our Fernson on or our Remedy or something.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So again, Andy, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. For Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Calderman. We'll see you guys next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.